to this week's Ruby Shoes podcast, delivering the very best local entertainment news across East Anglia each and every week. Now, this week on the Ruby Shoes podcast, we talk to author Paul French, live from Hong Kong, ahead of his appearance at the Felixstowe Book Festival. We hear from Aaron, the founder of Insert Laughter Here, who are now on tour, and it takes in both Norfolk and Suffolk as part of that tour. We've got a review of It's a Fine Life, and I chatted earlier today to Laura Matthews, who plays Dotty in the new drama Spitfire Girls, which opens tomorrow night. Plus a roundup of some of the region's top shows coming your way soon, which you won't want to miss. Now, we begin this week's Ruby Shoes podcast by talking to author Paul French. He's live from Hong Kong. Why, you ask? Well, tickets for the Felixstowe Book Festival go on sale this coming Saturday. That's the 5th of April. And Paul is just one of the many best-selling authors who will be coming to Felixstowe in June to talk to book lovers about his latest book. Paul began by describing the scene outside his hotel window.
Yeah, no, I was just trying to get this set up so that you've got a bit of a view. So
it's a lovely view. I was going to say that's not a screensaver, that's an actual view.
That's the view out my window, yeah.
Oh, wow. And whereabouts are you at the moment?
I'm just in Hong Kong, so that's the view sort of back from the harbour up towards the peak.
Oh, my goodness. That looks amazing. And is Hong Kong home for you?
No, I'm in London most of the time, but I'm on a kind of 5-week tour here. So I'm 2 weeks in Hong Kong doing things, and then I'm up in Beijing for a while, and then finish off at a little festival in Macau.
Wow, amazing. Oh, that sounds absolutely wonderful. Well, thank you for fitting us in today to talk about Felixstowe. Felixstowe is going to seem tiny compared to Hong Kong, but we are so excited that you're coming because you're going to be talking about your latest book, Her Lotus Year, China, the Roaring Twenties and the Making of Wallace Simpson. And obviously Felixstowe's got a really close connection with Wallace Simpson. In fact, the Felixstowe Book Festival, as you know, because you've been there before, this year it's set in Harvest House, which is where Wallace basically held out, when she was trying to sort of hide up from the press and everything. So really, really strong connection. And the fact that you're going to be talking there, how does that make you feel? Is that it seems right that you should be talking about her at the place that she actually spent some time.
Yeah, well, I haven't really. I didn't get to go there last time. I only got to Zoom in the end because of COVID. So it was sort of one of the places on my list that Wallace sort of inhabited. And it was interesting to me because a lot of the things that are in this book, which was all the scandal and rumors about her time in China that were being circulated around at the time, were all happening in the middle of the abdication, the divorce, her divorce from Ernest Simpson. And the time that she was spent sort of hunkered down in Felixstowe and then later in south of France, so it was right in the eye of the storm.
Oh, very much so. As I say, I'm not going to ask you too much about the book because we are so excited to have you in person this time. Say COVID did play its part, didn't it? But we still managed to keep the festival going. So thank you for persevering with us. And we're so excited to see you there in person. I did want to ask you about your writing and how you write and where you like to write, because all authors seem to be different. And the book festival always attracts book lovers, obviously, but also writers as well. So tell me about your writing style, how you like to write and also where you like to write.
Well, I suppose everything for me stems from the fact that although I write different books, they're all basically about the same thing. I mean, they're all about China. So that's all I write about. And they're all about that period in the sort of first half of the 20th century, when China was kind of slightly chaotic country. Hong Kong was a colony, obviously. Shanghai was this kind of booming, exciting city. Beijing was the ancient old capital. So I'm always writing about that, which means that, I'm kind of one of those people that specializes in one thing. So and I've been doing that for a long time. I mean, basically since I was at university and studied Chinese and sort of first went out to Asia. That's basically all I've done. So I just kind of write about China for breakfast, lunch and dinner. And, that means I carry awful lot of information around in my head. It means my reading lists are fairly obvious. So ultimately I can kind of write anywhere, and I do. I mean, I write at home on the kitchen table. I write in the London Library. Sometimes when I'm in London, that's a place that I use because I use the collection there a lot. But I'm here in Hong Kong at the moment, and I'll write for an hour or two at the table in the hotel room. It doesn't really bother me, and I'll be scratching down ideas and things when I'm sort of riding around town on the subway or across the harbour on the ferry or whatever. So it's just a sort of I'm not someone who has to have a totally quiet room and sort of be left on my own or anything. I'm just sort of scribbling away and thinking all the time because it's all I think about anyway.
Fantastic. Well, they say write about what you know, and clearly you know so much about it. That's why you've got such, amazing and fascinating books. Tell us about coming to Felixstowe. Will it be your first time? I mean, obviously you've come on the Zoom, but have you actually visited Felixstowe before, or will this literally be the first time for you?
Nah, I'm a Felixstowe virgin. This is my first time going there, so I'm quite excited. I don't know that part of the world particularly well. I'm a sort of London and down south from London boy when it comes to moving around the UK. So I don't really I don't know it well, but I've wanted to go there, and I was really upset that COVID interfered with our plans a few years ago when I had my last book out. So getting invited back with a new book's kind of fantastic.
Yeah, well, as I say, we're very much looking forward to seeing you, Paul. Thank you for your time today. I won't keep you any longer. You're in the middle of a hectic whirlwind tour by the sounds of it, but we're very glad that Felixstowe is going to play part of that. So thank you so much. Good to talk to you, and I look forward to seeing you in June in Felixstowe.
Yeah, fantastic. Let's hope the weather's great as well.
Oh, it will be. It'll be fabulous. You're coming to the southeast coast. It's always the sun always shines there.
Oh, amazing.
Next, we hear from the creator and director of Insert Laughter Here, Aaron Waite. Insert Laughter Here is a completely improvised comedy show, and it's legendary. The brand new tour, Spinner Play, is about to kick off, and as well as attending the Brighton Fringe and the Camden Fringe, I'm delighted to say there'll also be a couple of East Anglian performances to kick off its spring-summer tour. Firstly, the Madder Market Theatre in Norwich on Friday the 4th of April, and then at Bury St Edmunds Hunter Club Art Centre on Friday the 25th of April. And here to tell us more about that is creator and director Aaron Waite. Aaron, welcome to the Ruby Shoes podcast.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. Now, tell us first of all about the roots of Insert Laughter Here.
Sure. So I set the group up in 2019. I was working at Theatre Royal Bury St Edmunds at the time, and we were watching like a end of course performance of the Act Your Age group, and they'd been working on improvisation, so they played a few improvisation games on stage. The staff of the theatre were invited to come down and watch and form an audience, and I was sat with my colleague off from the box office that afternoon, and we had a great time. And I turned to her and said, "This is really fun, we could do this." And she went, yeah, we could do this. And I said, well, should we do this then? And from there I just barreled 99 miles an hour into creating it, set up the group, got a few other people involved, people who I knew were funny, people who were we had a few connections come in like as chains, so people invited their friends who they knew were funny, and we had I think it was about 6 of us in the first show in June of that year. And it was an absolute blast. We sold out the room. We had a great time. People were snorting, laughing. It was very, very fun. And we just kind of snowballed from there, really. And almost 6 years later, we're still going.
Which is brilliant, and we're very glad that you are. But when you say improvised comedy, to me, I would be terrified. It's so stressful. Does that literally mean no script at all?
Yeah, so a lot of people say it's really scary. I actually find the opposite. So I was in a scripted show in 2023, and I found that really, really stressful, having to memorize lines and hit specific marks and get all the timings right. I found really difficult. I managed it because obviously, but it's a totally different feeling for me than just being on the side of the stage with nothing written, nothing prepared, because basically anything that happens is correct. We just move forward and we make it into something else. So I find it really exciting rather than terrifying. But yeah, no, we don't have any script. We have what we do have is we have when we do our short form shows, we have the structure of games. So we have I think like 30 or 40 different games that we choose to put into a show. So we know how those games work. So the basic building blocks of this, we need this ingredient, we need this number of people, that sort of thing. But all the extra ingredients for those scenes, the characteristics or the locations or anything, come from the audience. So we don't know the specifics of what we're going to be doing until we do it. And it's the same for Spin a Play, which is the new long form structure that I've created, where we have an idea of the order of things that we're going to do. So we know, for example, that we're going to fill in a wheel at the start of the show with loads of genres, and then we're going to spin it and perform one of them. But we don't know what those genres are going to be. We obviously don't know what the wheel's going to land on. And then we have suggestions throughout the show as well. So we're always adding a little bit extra chaos. So, yeah, completely unscripted, but also it's just so much fun to see things created from nothing, where it didn't exist 2 seconds ago, and now we're in an improvised car chase or something like that, and it's great.
It sounds so much fun, and clearly you absolutely love it, and the audience will as well. And the rather clever thing is, if you've seen the show once, you're never going to see the same show again. So you can just go back and back and keep following your tour around, and you'd always see a different show each time, because, as you say, it's all created on the night by that individual audience. I think that's actually quite clever, really, of you, Aaron.
Absolutely. Well, when we debuted Spin a Play in 23, we did a couple of performances in Camden Fringe. We created 6 new plays, and then in this new tour, we're going to create 10 new ones, and it's such an exciting prospect to not know any of them are going to be. It's great.
I think that's brilliant. And do you sometimes video some of it? So, because otherwise you've sort of got this amazing magic on stage, but it's kind of gone, and then you start again the next day.
Yeah, so I always record all of our shows, mainly to make trailers or post little clips of. But we always encourage our audience to do the same. So people are very welcome to take photos or videos, because, as I say at the start of the show, nothing that we do will ever happen again. So there's no need for us to be protective of it like shows. There's no spoiler alerts, because you can't spoil something that's never going to exist again after that moment. So yeah, we have a lot of we tend to find that a lot of the photos that we get are hilarious and made even funnier with no context, with the facial expressions and poses that we've got. So if you don't know what was happening, it just looks really, really odd, but it's very silly.
It's a great bit of marketing as well. Very, very ingenious, very clever. I think you're a very clever man, Aaron. How many comedians are on stage when they come, for the East Anglian performances in particular?
Sure. So we have, I think, a total of 22 in the team now. We've just taken on some lovely new people. The shows vary, so it's usually between 4 and 7 people, depending on who's available. The structure is sort of devised with the idea of there being one host, and we refer to them as the playwright for that show, and then 6 performers. But it's a bit more flexible, so if we don't get that many people who are available, we can do it with fewer. We tend to not do it with more than that, because especially in the scenes when all 6 performers are involved, it can be quite chaotic. So but in our short form shows, we have had more, so up to 8 or even 10 people potentially, but it's all on availability.
Wonderful stuff. Well, as I said, you're going to be in East Anglia in April, which we're looking forward to seeing you in Norwich, and also in Suffolk at the Bury St Edmunds Hunter Club Art Centre, which is going to be fantastic. What happens at the end of this tour? Will you be back to East Anglia? Are you coming back to your roots, or have you got something else planned?
Yeah, so we have performed a lot in and around East Anglia, because most of us are based around here, and I'm in Bury St Edmunds, so it's nice to be just down the road from certain shows. But we have got a couple of other fringe festivals which I've put in applications for. We're always on the eye out for venues that will host us. So yeah, who knows? We're currently looking at probably another show in Bury later in the year, and then not sure from there in terms of specifics at the moment, but yeah, the shows will go on, as they say.
Well, I'd be very surprised if you had, the next 5 years planned out, because that's just not how you roll, is it?
No, it's a bit like that. Someone will email me and say, "Oh, we've seen your company. Would you like to perform here?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, okay, let's do that." It's very fully free flowing.
I think this is the absolutely perfect way to live your life, Aaron. It's been a pleasure to talk to you today for Ruby Shoes. How do we get hold of tickets?
So all of the tickets can be found. The links are on our website, insertlaughterhere.co.uk/book-now. You can get tickets for the Madam Market show at madammarket.co.uk. The Brighton Fringe shows are at brightonfringe.org and camdenfringe.org. But yeah, all the links are on our website. So go there first and we'll point you in the right places.
Wonderful. Insert laughter here. You heard it here as well on the Ruby Shoes podcast. Good luck with it all. It sounds brilliant. And do keep in touch with us, won't you?
Thank you. Will do.
Last week, we were lucky enough to catch It's a Fine Life, which tells the story of the rise and fall of one Lionel Bart, who was an amazing composer who wrote so many scores, so many pieces of music that you'll know, including this one.
From Russia with love I fly to you, much wiser since
So we've just come out of the Wolsey Theatre, having just seen an amazing show, actually. We were just saying, actually, it's like a show of two halves, and it was the amazing story of Lionel Bart, and so much I didn't know, so many songs that he composed. And the first half of the show is really happy because he's successful and he's, against all odds, he's, a Cockney boy who's sort of come up with this amazing ability to write incredible hits, and he's made loads of money. And then the second half was so dark and so sad, and just kind of a testament really of what can happen if you don't have the right people around you and you just let your life kind of, go out of control because of money and success and everything. And I mean, how many times do we see that sort of thing? Judith, you came with me. What did you think of the show?
Similar to you, I really enjoyed the first half and found it very uplifting. The second half, not so much, but it was all part of the story. I'm very sad to see somebody who had so much, the world at their feet really, and loses it all.
Yeah.
Although he managed to claw back some towards the later part of his life, he didn't really achieve the same success that he did when he first set out.
Yeah, but I'm so glad that they've actually come up with this show, because people of my generation and probably older, but certainly younger, as time goes on, won't ever know anything about Lionel Bart, and now they will because of this brilliant show. So I hope that it continues to tour and tour and tour, like a lot of his shows did, and there's loads and loads of performances of them. This particular show, I mean, the actual the musicianship was amazing, the vocal ability of all the characters was outstandingly good.
Yes.
I could feel myself sort of trying to breathe for them, because some of those songs were huge. When he wrote a song, he wrote big time, didn't he? But
He did.
so that was really enjoyable. So even the really sad, the real poignant parts of it, they then, there was sort of music to accompany it, and oh my goodness, it really pulled at your heartstrings. But just huge songs to be able to sing, and with that much raw emotion as well. I loved it. I thought it was very, very good.
And all credit to the actor who did the majority of the show on his own, and the script that he had to remember and act and sing. Very, very impressive.
Yeah, starring John Barr as Lionel Bart, and he was incredible, wasn't he?
Yes.
But he had alongside him, he had Debbie Wildman as Judy Garland, and her voice, she was Judy Garland, wasn't she?
She was.
She was absolutely brilliant. Michelle Francis as Barbara Windsor. Really hard to sing like Barbara Windsor, because she had a very, very, a bit like Cilla Black, a very distinct style.
Yes.
Not perhaps everybody's cup of tea, but she did it brilliantly, really good. And Maximus Wood as Cliff Richard as well, which was a real surprise. So, and there's just sort of loads of names and things, so proper nostalgia. but actually I just thought that was an excellent show. I haven't enjoyed a show that much for a long time, but it really did make me think, and I'm just very glad. It's a really good historical piece as well as great theatre. Finally, this week on the Ruby Shoes podcast, we hear from Laura Matthews, who's starring in a brand new drama called Spitfire Girls. It opens tomorrow night at the new Wolsey Theatre. Presented by Tilted Wig and Masked Mayflower Studios, Spitfire Girls is on at the new Wolsey Theatre from tomorrow night through till Saturday night, the 5th of April. This drama is inspired by the extraordinary true stories of the women who dared to fly during World War II. It's written by Catherine Senior, and Laura Matthews, who plays Dotty, joins us now for the Ruby Shoes podcast. Morning, Laura.
Morning, how are you?
So much for joining us. Very well indeed. It's nice to see the sunshine. I hope it's nice and sunny.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's beautiful, beautiful.
Makes everything feel better, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Now, we at Ruby Shoes are very much looking forward to seeing Spitfire Girls on the opening night tomorrow night. Set the scene for us. It's New Year's Eve 1959. So tell us a bit more about Spitfire Girls.
Well, without giving too much away, we arrive in this pub on New Year's Eve in 1959, and two women are reunited 15 years after the war has ended. And we realise that there's some story happening there. And then we go back in time to find out what happened and why their relationship became fractured.
It sounds fascinating. I really am looking forward to it. As ignorant as I clearly am, I had no idea that women did fly Spitfires in World War II.
To be honest with you, neither did I. And when I got the script through, it was I actually first of all thought, is this real? Is that, and it's not just Spitfires. I think that's the thing that I found the most mind-blowing. I think it was, I don't have my notes with me, but I think it was up to over 150 different types of aircraft that women flew. And our characters, some of them had previous training or had been pilots before the war, but our characters are based on women that signed up and had 4 to 6 months training, and then were basically given this wonderful book called The Ferry Pilot Notes, and it had a few pages on the basics of each aircraft, what you would need for stall speed, for takeoff speed, landing, whether it had landing gear, all of that sort of thing. And then sometimes they wouldn't even see a plane until they were presented with it and expected to fly it off somewhere.
That's just incredible. I'm glad you said, I wondered if it was true, because that was my first thought. Well, maybe this is just a drama and it's been written and it's not true. So I feel terrible for these women that have gone before me that I had absolutely no idea about their bravery. I mean, I would be terrified to do something like that. Incredible.
Yeah, I was really lucky. In prep for it, I went to Duxford Air Museum, and a really lovely guy who was obviously very passionate about planes showed me around a Spitfire cockpit and let me sit in the plane and explained how it would work. And it was fascinating. But what struck me was that the plane is sort of huge and small all at the same time. And to think that after just a few months training, it's a solo flyer, so you'd go up by yourself. You couldn't have someone else with you, sort of as a training pilot. So yeah, you'd be taking a plane up on your own. And yeah, I think that I have a lovely line in the play where I say the power of the thing. And I think that is that these machines were incredible. And to think that, women were doing it also with no navigation, because they had maps, so they planned a route on a paper map, And most of the time they would look out the side of their cockpit window to see if they could see train tracks or rivers or lights of cities so that they could work out where they were. They had no means of communicating with anyone because they weren't allowed access to the radios, because obviously they were being used by the pilots that were in combat, and they didn't want, you know, it to be intercepted, know where the planes were being moved to. So they were really on their own up there, which is extraordinary.
It is extraordinary. I'm so pleased that this drama has been written, actually, by Catherine Senior, because without it, I would have absolutely no idea. And I'm sure most of the audience will be in the same boat as well. So very excited to see it. It must be very different for you as an actor, as something to play, and quite exciting a role to play as well.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, I think that it's no, secret that especially when you become a bit older, you're maybe in your mid to late 30s and upwards, roles for women tend to start being sort of mother roles or, you know, wife roles, and it's sort of there's still a lot of canon that revolves around a men's story. So this play is just incredible for the journey that both the women go on. It's so complicated and it's such a human story, and it's just really exciting to get to play very sort of real human characters. She's written some wonderful material, and I think what's amazing is that you will come and people sort of keep asking me, is it drama, is it comedy, is it romance? And it's sort of a bit of everything. And I think that audiences will come and they will laugh and they might cry and they will definitely be completely astounded by the story.
Oh, Laura, you've painted a wonderful picture. I was looking forward to it before, but I'm really looking forward to it now. Tickets are available on wolseytheatre.co.uk. It starts tomorrow night. So that's Tuesday, the 1st of April, right through to Saturday, the 5th of April at the new Wolsey Theatre. Can't wait to see it. Please send my best regards to the rest of the cast, and I shall look forward to seeing you in person tomorrow night.
Yeah, amazing.
Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Next week, my guest is the star of the Gallery Players' Fun Home, Tim Holder. In the meantime, here are some more great shows coming your way you won't want to miss.
What's on across Suffolk with Stephanie McIntyre. Sponsored by Ruby Shoes Podcast, your weekly entertainment news podcast. Available from your smart speaker, Apple, Spotify, or you just follow Ruby Shoes Podcast on Facebook and click on the weekly podcast link to listen.
There's a host of great shows on offer across Suffolk's magnificent theatres, and here's just a selection to tempt you. Presented by Tilted Wig and Masked Mayflower Studios, Spitfire Girls is on at the new Wolsey Theatre from the 1st to the 5th of April. This drama, inspired by the extraordinary true stories of the women who dared to fly during World War II, is by Catherine Senior. New Year's Eve 1959, decades after answering the call, two women separated by the war meet again as the rain hammers down on the windows of the Spitfire pub. As we hear their story, we're transported back to a time when female pioneers defied expectations and soared through the skies. Spitfire Girls is inspired by the true stories of the women who dared to fly during World War II and the incredible bond that tied them together. Funny and heartwarming, this is an untold story of strength, courage and loss, but above all else, hope. For more information, go to wolseytheatre.co.uk. Thursday the 3rd of April, this time at the Ipswich Corn Exchange. Creedence Clearwater Revival are one of the most iconic rock bands of all time. Their all-time classic hits, including Proud Mary, Bad Moon Rising and Have You Ever Seen the Rain, are all reprised by Clearwater Creedence Revival. And there's a support act too called the Groundhogs. To get your tickets, go to ipswichtheatres.co.uk. Also on Thursday the 3rd of April, but this time at the Apex Theatre in Bury St Edmunds, it's the Buddy Holly's Winter Dance Party. 4 West End artists celebrate the music of 4 icons of rock and roll: Buddy Holly, Big Bopper, Richie Valens and Dion DiMucci, along with the Counterfeit Crickets, a lively rock and roll band that hit the spot every time in recreation of the last tour given in the Surf Ballroom, Iowa in USA. This uplifting show will have you feeling nostalgic for days gone by. Hits including Heartbeat, Blue Days, Black Nights, Bo Diddley, True Love Ways and La Bamba. Check them out for yourself. Go to theapex.co.uk. And finally, on Saturday the 5th of April at the Key Theatre in Sudbury, A Doll's House Part 2 by Lucas Hnath. At the end of Ibsen's classic groundbreaking 1879 play A Doll's House, Nora walks out on her marriage, home and young children. Playwright Lucas Hnath builds on Ibsen's seminal work by imagining what happens when Nora returns years later with an urgent request. Old School Theatre Company presents Hnath's rich standalone sequel, eloquently exploring traditional gender roles and social class still inherent in today's society. Go to keysudbury.com to find out more. Don't forget, you can always get in touch with us via our Facebook page. We're at Ruby Shoes Podcast. We love to hear about your forthcoming plays, your comedy nights, or any kind of show, festival, or event in East Anglia you'd like everyone to know about. Tell us so we can tell everybody else. And remember, you can always listen again to any of the Ruby Shoes podcasts via Apple or Spotify, or just simply click on the weekly podcast links on our Facebook page. Follow us there too for all the latest entertainment news where you are. I'm Steph McIntyre. Thanks for listening, and we'll chat about more live theatre and all kinds of entertainment next week. In the meantime, check out those socials. At Ruby Shoes Podcast, we're on Twitter or X, Facebook and Instagram. We'd love you to follow us there too, and make sure you have a great week.